Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 39-year-old from Elmira, Ontario, Canada, more precisely, right down the road from me. He is a multiple OMHA champion and legend with the 1983 Woolwich Township minor hockey squad that ran amok. He was the rookie of the year in 99-2000 for the Elmira Sugar Kings. Over yours truly. He then became a legend and champion with the Ottawa 67s before heading home and running amok with the local senior A loop and the Elmira Rocks, where one season had 68 points in 23 games played, and I believe won multiple championships again, folks. He also, more importantly, is a pitcher, batter, catcher champion and KW Roadbreakers champion with yours truly. Welcome to the shed, Rodney Bauman.
That's quite an introduction. I actually forgot about a few of those things. That seems like a lifetime ago.
Do you remember the KW Roadbreakers with bays and wides?
You know what's funny about that? Someone mentioned that to me about 5 days ago. And we looked it up, and I told the story about after we won the championship, and if it was a penalty-free game, we would get $100 to Wayne Gretzky Sports Bar with a limo ride to a Blue Jay game.
For winning the championship, wasn't that the prize? We got a limo and a ride to the Blue Jay game and went to Gretzky. So that's my fun tale is when we went to Gretzky's in the limo, we were 15 years old. That was the first time I ever got served at a bar.
And that's the reason I told this story. It was me, you, Wideman, and Kevin Basler, I believe.
That's right.
And me and Dennis, we were pretty big lads, and they gave us $100 to Wayne Gretzky because the championship was penalty free. And we sat there and ordered all the wings and nachos you could eat, and they served us beer. A bunch of 15-year-olds in Toronto by ourselves. Who does that? Who sends their 15-year-olds to Toronto?
I don't think you're allowed to do fun stuff like that anymore. That was a great trip. And I remember it. Shout out to Bay's old man passed, but I remember at that trip, he was one that took us to the Roadbreakers tournament. And that was, I remember him having the pint of the Tim Hortons cup all day and hanging out with us. What a beauty. Eh?
Yeah. And anyway, I remember when the limo came and picked us up, Baze's mother, Bernice, too, she has since passed, but great lady. And she actually went into her wallet, and they never gave the limo driver the $100 to Wayne Gretzky. So she went into her wallet and dug out $100. Or I think she ran to the bank machine or the bank and got us $100 so that we could go and have our fun as promised. So kudos to her. What a lady.
Baze's parents were incredible folks. So that's another way how we know each other. The parties would always be at the Baslers, and pitcher, batter, catcher. What an event that became, eh?
I don't know. There's not too many sporting events that intense
and well organized. So, folks, background is this came up in Lackner's episode, but we played pitcher, batter, catcher. It's 2-on-2 baseball, right? And we set up our friend's backyard. We had foul lines, we had a mound, we had snow fence as the home run line, and the actual fence, right? But it was and Scoot, the carpenter there, he whipped together a backstop with chicken wire, right?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how in depth it got. And I would liken it to something like the movie The Sandlot, where it's just a bunch of buddies hanging out and playing all summer, and
except we weren't kids
and having a good time. Except we were holding up in adults and we were drinking beer the whole time. So
oh yeah,
made it even more special.
Friday night, show up and draw the teams and finish the rest of the field work, I guess, getting everything ready. And then Saturday, you show up as your team and your different outfits, and we'd play O Canada and all stand on the foul lines at 8 a.m. and then we crack our beers and have at it.
Yeah, it really was a field of dreams.
And the Baslers, thank you for letting us do all that to your backyard, right? Because not many people are going to let 20-year-olds all bring an actual mound of dirt
and drop the mower deck and saw off all your grass.
I guess the first year was at my parents' house, right? And they came home from Kincardine, where I'm at now, and found out what we had done to their backyard, and then we had to head out to Basler's. But we won that, right? You are a pitcher, batter, catcher champion, and we won the inaugural tournament.
Yeah, I think I might have won it a couple times, but the inaugural was I think you and I, and I think it even went out to Wideman's parents' place for a year or two. And
that was when we had the blue monster, right?
Yeah, because that backyard was huge, so it was
the big tarp up.
That was a big one there.
Oh man, it was so fun when we had the beer gardens and everything. It's not many groups of friends in the world that would put in that much effort into making fun happen, eh? So I guess, and a lot of the guys we were playing with were from the 1983 Woolwich Township minor hockey team, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's how we started to know each other, right? That's where I probably would have met you, was that hockey.
Yeah. And yeah, Les and I, my wife, we talk about that, how great it is for the kids to get to know kids from other St. Jacobs, Conestoga, Waterloo, you know, just by playing sports, and how a social event it can be, and good sportsmanship. And then by the time you go to high school, you know 100 different people because of all the associations. And before the social networking, that was our social network.
It is true though. Like Colby here in town now knows all these kids from all the other schools in Kincard, right? Because of hockey this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out to my guys. We got all Ontario's coming up this weekend. And I guess it's fitting that I have you on this week, because we are OMHA champions. And now I'm trying to do that with my little guys next weekend in Windsor.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, you look back at the hockey careers, or the minor hockey, and the times you enjoyed as a kid. And now that you and I are coaching our kids, you know, you try and make it memorable for them. And if they have good teams and can win championships, you just watch them have fun and reminisce about the friends you made and the fun times you had as a kid, right? It's amazing.
I still have the VCR or whatever of the Preston tourney. I tried to put it in like a couple months ago and it ate the tape on me. You remember the Preston tournament where they had trophies as big as me?
Oh, I remember the Preston tournament. I think that trophy's still on my nightstand right now.
Oh God, what a win that was. Who did we beat? Moorfield in the finals?
Moore Township, I believe.
Township. What a game that was. They
were bigger, faster, and could shoot harder, but
just willed it. We willed it home.
that was the gutsy one there.
And my old man really did shorten the bench that game, I think.
Yeah, I think if you go with 8 players the entire game, that's kind of shortening the bench.
I would say it minor novice. Okay. When I researched you, when the research team was hot, and I put in the Google Rodney Bauman hockey, first thing that popped up is you fighting one of my best buddies, Hendo.
Who's that? Hendricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Colby looked it up on YouTube because he knows Hendo, and that was quite the fight.
Yeah. Did you see how hard he hit me?
Twice.
Oh. Didn't go down though, did I?
No, the knees buckled a bit.
Yeah, the knees caved in, and I thought, oh boy, I'm in one here. So I better get up and act tough here. So I got up and tried to get him back. But yeah, he was a tough guy. When that popped up, that it's you two fighting each other, I'm like, wow, that's so weird. You know what's a funny story about that? So when I played in Ottawa, he was from the Ottawa area somewhere just outside. Mm-hmm. So he went back there in the summers. So Barry Brennan was our trainer for the 67s, a former amateur boxer.
And he was the trainer with the Syracuse Crunch, Columbus Blue Jackets when I went there.
He was with the Syracuse Crunch and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I would train with them during the season, and Trevor Hendricks would train with them in the off season. And then you know what we did? Then when we play again, then we fight each other, and he trained us both. So there we are, punching each other in the head.
That's I guess a lose-lose or a win-win or a lose-lose. However you want to look at it. One of his guys is going to lose, and I guess one of his guys is going to win. But yeah, he's a tough boy. He grabbed me after practice a couple times just to like show me, and I was like, didn't know that I wouldn't want to fight either of you. And one of my stories is when we were playing for the Sugar Kings, we got in a line brawl. Me and you were on the ice with, I think, Brian Clemmer and Dale Wideman. And do you remember this line brawl?
Not really.
You got on top of a guy like in front of our net. And I was wrestling around with a guy, but I could hear you hitting this guy. And he was like, I could hear him like squeal. I still remember it because I was like, I can't imagine Rodney punching me in the face.
Yeah, and that would have been when we were 16.
Yeah. I was just trying to survive out there, and you were throttling guys.
I remember playing for the Sugar Kings at 16, and for some reason, because I was big, I think that it was always the 19 and 20-year-olds that wanted to line up against me, and I thought, this is unbelievable. Like, I guess,
and you hung in there with all the 20-year-olds when you were 16. I thought it was hilarious.
Age doesn't really matter, I guess, once you get playing good hockey, but still, it's a little intimidating when you're going against guys with full beards.
Well, that's one thing I was going to mention was like Hendo, he's an 86 and you're an 83, eh? So
yeah. Oh yeah. He was pretty young when he
must have hit puberty young, eh?
Yeah.
Oh God. But the other thing is, it's interesting that like we're talking, right? Is because like I see my son and all his buddies becoming best friends, and I'm, the old man's coaching, and my old man coached us, and it's just interesting circle hockey life this is.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Lion King,
it's just weird. It's really weird.
It's just the circle of life.
I remember when my old man took us like down some back dirt road and said there was an animal in the trunk or something, right?
Oh yeah, it was some rabid animal. He trapped some rabid raccoons or something, and we had to get him out of the trunk for him. And me, you, and Wideman were like lining up. We're terrified. We're probably 11 years old or something, maybe. He stands back and opens the trunk, and we're there with our sticks ready to hit him. And then he's got our jerseys lined up with the A and the C on them and spread out across his trunk. And we thought this was just the coolest thing.
Yeah. I think that we would then to McDonald's for a cheeseburger after. Celebrate.
Yeah, celebrate that we didn't have to get bit by a wild animal.
Yeah, interesting way of letting us know who the cat. I guess we remember it, so you got to try and be memorable, right? That's the coach. Yep. My thing is, I got the whole team 2 Ales and Hockey Tales t-shirts, and I had them on the podcast.
Oh, perfect. That's something else that'll be memorable. Some dandy getting them beer shirts when they're 10.
Yeah, I even during March break we went in a 3-on-3 tournament, and they were all from my team, and they all were skating around with these jerseys. Like they're skating around in Lucknow, Ontario with pints on their chest at 10 years old. Everybody finds it funny, I think. I don't know. I haven't had any complaints yet. Okay. Here's another funny one. I obviously was not very good at handling my alcohol at a young age. This is another way we know each other, is I had never really drank hard alcohol. I did try it one night when you were over at my house. Do you remember this? I swallowed my tongue.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Not a good time.
Not a good start to drinking alcohol. Really overdid it that night. Didn't really understand that the hard stuff doesn't hit you till later on,
Yeah, and
I was just a young boy.
Thank goodness for your dad's action again, because he looked after you and made sure you were okay, because that's not something to mess around with. So now that you're a parent and you can see how damaging it can be, you gotta treat it with a little more
respect.
More respect, I think. Now there's a reason there's an age limit on it.
It was a life lesson I learned that day. But yeah, I swallowed my tongue and the old man got her out. Good work, Ronald. Okay, where and what are you doing now?
Well, right now I'm sitting in my kitchen having a scotch, talking to an old friend. But
blue hair and Crescent, right? Where I used to go after school in Park Manor every day.
Yeah, it's a small world. I live right across the street from your grandma's old house. And my day-to-day now, as the restrictions are lifting here, thank goodness. My wife's a advanced care paramedic. Give her the kudos. She worked really hard to go back to school during the pandemic and during all that nonsense, and now she's an advanced care paramedic. Kids.
So what is that? Because she was already a paramedic, right? What advanced care is like a better one. She's stepped it up.
She's so she's been a paramedic for 15 years as a primary care paramedic, but then as an advanced care paramedic you take charge of all the critical incidents, and if there's any VSA or any drugs or anything that need to be administered, she's in charge of the patient and has to answer to all the hospitals and the doctors that question her if anything goes south.
Is that right? She's really
yeah,
taken a lot on then.
Yeah, so after kind of the next step would be critical care paramedic, and that's the kind of the top step, and that's like the ones that ride in the orange ambulance and the orange ground, and that's basically, from my understanding,
that's the top.
That's almost an emergency room doctor on wheels. So
really,
basically a portable doctor.
How much school did she have to do to step it up during COVID? Like, was she doing a lot for
it got dragged out a little over a year again. And yeah, she studies all the doses of everything that every symptom and disease, and they're all different for weight and age, and it's unbelievable. Really,
and she needs to know that, like when things are happening, they're going to be happening fast if she's in that line of work, eh?
Yeah. So anyways, that's my wife. Proud of her. So she's off and running with that now. She's in charge of the crew at when she's on duty. And then my kids, Molly and Sam, they are 10 and 8. They're both playing hockey, coaching both of them. I'm working in Waterloo for the city of Waterloo as a firefighter. Started there in 2009 and became an acting captain there in 2018. So
you're a captain.
Acting captain. So that means when captains are on holidays, then I step in. So so there's been a lot of that in the last 2 years because
you guys are busy, eh?
Yeah, it keeps our marriage fresh. One of us always goes to work, so we don't spend too much time together. It really make things enjoyable. It adds to the longevity.
Well, and I guess I guess I do pump people's tires on podcasts. I'm a little nicer to you in the shed than I would be, in person. But you came up in the last episode with Matt Keith. He became a firefighter kind of right after hockey, and I told a story of, well, I know a guy that is just a great guy from a great family, and I'm like, he got hired right away because people knew who he was, they knew his values, and they knew how hardworking he was. And this Matt Keith was very similar, and you guys both got the jobs right out of hockey, and it's because of who you are or when you wanted it, right?
Yeah,
it's a way to go.
Yeah, and it's amazing. There's a bunch of hockey players on our department, and it's a team atmosphere, and you're all striving for the same goal. Everyone does their job and for a good outcome, right? So yeah, it's a great career, and there's always challenges and progression you can take. So it's fantastic.
Okay. And I guess I'm having another fireman on. It'll be 3 in a row here. Next is Brandon Dietrich.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Now there's a hockey player for you.
Well, he's the one that got me to Germany, right? And the reason I wore number 10. Yeah.
So we have a firefighter hockey league. We have 4 teams. There's guys from Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge.
Hey, stop playing with whatever with your hand. I hear you.
Sorry.
You're playing with your tallywhacker.
Anyway, we have a fire league there, and it's pretty funny when he gets the puck and starts dancing around and does his wide stance and toe drags and through the legs, and we all just kind of chase him around and watch the show. It's
and he's
fun.
Smiling the whole time, right?
He's
got this big grin, oh, hockey's so fun, it's so easy.
Yeah, I know. And then
we're laboring around,
struggling to get up and down the ice, and now at almost 40, I feel like I'm pulling a trailer around. So he's just smiling away, having a great time.
So you do still play some hockey then?
Yeah. So that
are you in church league too?
Yeah. So that's kind of evaporated, and it's just a rental ice time now, and we basically play pickup. So a little disappointed. It kind of folded during COVID. Excuse me. And now we just kind of play pickup. So it's not quite as serious, but it's still exercise.
Well, we talk about a small world, and where you're living is another guy that lives on your crescent, I believe. Mark Schwint is a 1983 Woolwich Township minor hockey player with us, an OMHA champion. And just because a lot of people listen to this in the UK, is Mark Schwent went to medical school in Belfast, and he was coming to a hockey game, and he writes to me and says, "Hey, do you play for the Cardiff Devils?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm coming to your hockey game tonight." And he came to watch me play in Belfast. It was pretty interesting.
Yep.
And he lives on the crescent you live on. Very small world.
He lives 2 doors over, a guy we grew up with, and talk about different paths, right? And we end up in the same spot. Now he's a medical doctor here in town and looking after the community. So good for him. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and he comes up this way too to a cottage as well. Okay. Moving on is so you're coaching both kids. That's got to be busy.
Yes. I
is it a full girls team for Molly?
Yes. Yeah. They got classified as rep this year, so it's been a little more demanding. But I took a role on that team as an assistant coach, and with the shift work, and when I'm not with Sam's team, then I'll be at every ice time I'm available for. So it's I can't be there full time, but I help out as much as I can.
And the other thing is, while we were on the topic about you being proud of your wife, I'm proud of Les too. Is I was there when you guys were meeting, right? Grade 9, was it? She came in from the St. Clement's bus to Elmira High School, and you guys just hit it off right away, eh?
Yeah, that was a while ago too. I think she was a little smitten with the big Mennonite.
Well, you are very big and strong, Rodney.
So anyways, I grabbed a hold of her and haven't let her go yet.
No, and that was one other thing I had for how we know each other, though. I was talking about Baze's parents, but her old man, and when we would do the one pitch baseball tournament, and we'd set up shop at their house, right? Her parents' house. And that was quite the baseball tournament, eh? The one pitch.
Oh, fantastic. Nothing but action, nonstop action.
You have to swing every pitch. What a time.
Keeps the games moving. I mean, the groins, the hip flexors, and the quads were done by the end of it. But I can't imagine doing it at 40 because we were doing it at 21. But it was.
There's some great rules too, though. If you didn't make contact with the ball, you owed a pint in, right? If you made the last out of an inning, you had to put a pint in the team fund. Basically, anytime you screwed up, you were putting a pint in the cooler. Eh?
And by the end of the day, then there's 200 in there and you can have at her. So if you played well, you drank for free.
And then we just hop in the back of the pickup and cruise over to the Ball Diamonds, play a match, then right back to the backyard. Fun day, eh?
The good old days.
I know. Okay, so we'll get into this now. Growing up on the farm down the road from the Waltons. I guess that was part of how we know each other, though. I have written down here Chauncey. Obviously he's both of our best friends, right? So he lived next door to me, and you were right down the road from us.
Yeah. I mean, we went to different public schools just because my address was a rural route number.
Well, we had to go to French immersion to not go out there, right? That's what we did.
You didn't have to. You just didn't want to come play with the Mennonites.
No, we would have had to go play with the Mennonites if we didn't take French immersion. But Mother was all over me about French immersion.
Yeah. And how's your bilingual now?
Ich kann sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch. I cannot parler français.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, growing up on a farm right on the edge of town is fantastic. I mean, you could bike in. Our other best friend and your brother-in-law there, he lived down the street from me, Scott. So I biked down there, would see him all the time, and come over and see you and Brad. I mean, Brad and I didn't get closer, and he was a year older, so we didn't get closer and start playing hockey together until we were about 13 or 14. But just fantastic. Right,
when you look back on it, it's kind of weird that all 4 of us lived within
less than a kilometer.
All 4 of us, right around the same age, boys that are in the sports, golf and drinking, hockey. But yeah, no, I remember going over to the barn, and we would have some wild hide and seek games out in the barn, eh?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, a great place to grow up. I was the youngest of 6 kids, so I was always chasing someone around or getting beat up by my older brothers. So,
And Randy's a big boy.
so yeah, yeah. And when he was 18 and I was 13 or whatever, that it hurt then. And but anyway,
And it
yeah,
hurt when you hit me.
it's a learned behavior.
I learned to behave when I was around you.
Growing up on a farm is fantastic. I mean, you're driving tractors, you're wheeling around in snowmobiles and pickups and having older brothers and teaching you things and learning how to use tools and working and stuff. So I mean, and my one benefit or whatever, my one gift that I was able to do was to me it was hockey, and it was just the greatest thing in the world to me that I got to play hockey. So I just couldn't wait for it every single year.
It was fun when we were on that team. And obviously when you're on a good team, it's more fun, but like when it's all your best friends and it's you, Wideman, Hogger, Lackner, Schwint, Hayes, all of them, like the whole team is just a bunch of dandies, eh?
Yeah. And it was weird. We couldn't stop winning.
I know. We were quite competitive, but it's interesting because we're all so competitive. It wasn't just playing hockey against other towns. It was pitcher, batter, catcher. It was ping pong. It was playing cribbage. It was playing euchre.
Just about everything.
It would get quite heated. Yeah. Okay. Did I see I have this shed, obviously, I'm very proud of. Did I see you built your like a pool shed?
Well, it's kind of a pool shed, but I don't have a pool. It's basically a 3-car garage in my backyard. I built it
for 3-car garage, really?
For something to do. I wanted to build it before we renovated our house because I knew once we renovated our house, there would be no allocated funds left. So I had this idea to put a big shop back there. And yeah, it's heated, it's got hydro, and it's a great little hangout. It's it's the size of a small house.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you. You need that.
And again, good buddy Scott Weaver there. He helped me throw that thing up. So it was fun working with him now as adults.
You fellas were always a lot handier than me. I've improved a lot though, Rodney.
Do you know which way to hold the hammer now?
I've learned quite a bit. Really made strides. Okay. What do I got here? Growing up on the farm, you guys, I remember going over. We didn't have cable out where we lived, eh? Couldn't get it.
Nope. 3 channels.
Yeah. CFMT or whatever it was called.
2 if it was foggy.
Yeah, it was yeah, I know. And then you'd see all the kids in town and you talk to them at hockey, you go to play with your friends and like they have cable and stuff, and you're like, wow.
Oh, they had the world by the tail, and here we are with nothing to do. And
so then we played hide and seek in a barn, probably had a way better time, right?
Exactly. We run around on barn beams 15 feet in the air, right? And throw stuff at each other.
Good thing the safety officers weren't out there. So I guess when you grew up, did you aspire to be a sugar king? Is that what you were striving to be like I was?
That was it. And I think as our minor hockey was winding down, I played up a year when I got to Bantam age, which I think is like 14 and then 15. I played up a year and then up a year in midget. So I played with kids 2 years older than me. And it was basically my ideals were, and watching Brandon Dietrich and Rob Collins and Derek Hahn and Jamie Wright all play for the Sugar Kings and thinking how great these guys were. It was like that was the ultimate, make the Sugar Kings and
watching them win the Sutherland Cup, like it was.
Yeah, like
it
we would have been
times.
In '96. We would have been 12 and 13, right? Like, so that was just amazing to us, and that's where that was kind of the goal at the time. And then you and I, we made the Sugar Kings at a young age there at 16, and it was kind of, you know what, there might be more to this. Everyone's telling us like they got their eye on you, and you might get drafted, and like, oh my goodness, I never thought this would
never even
like this.
Thought of it. Yeah, I know. And for you, you never went AAA. You played Woolwich the whole way up, right? And then, like for me, I guess like when I talk about like the NHL or wherever it could go, right? I never thought of myself ever even having a chance because I'd see what Dennis Wideman was doing. I'm like, that's a guy that actually has a chance of making it. I'm like, he's going OHL, he's going there, he's like an all-star. And I'm just the way afterthought of this, of the same age group from the same town. It's like, if anybody's making the NHL, it's him. And like, you don't even think it's on the radar for anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, you watched him. I mean, he was on the Sugar Kings at 15 and whatever, had way more than a point a game. And
he could even fight guys when he made the Sugar Kings at like 14, 15, and then he was fighting 20-year-olds and doing just fine too. You Mennonites are strong, boys.
But I mean, for a guy like that, it's just it's pure talent when he every league he goes to. Then he's in the OHL at 16, and all of a sudden halfway through the year he's one of their best defensemen in Sudbury, and at 17 then he's an all-star or whatever, however it turned out. It's like, I
remember going to watch a game in when he played for London against Kitchener, and he literally, like, he decided when he went off the ice. He played as much as he wanted. It was like 40 minutes, I bet.
Yeah, he stays on for 30 minutes a game and got his in 60 games you'd get his 80 points and tell all the forwards where to go and what to do. And
that, so when you're the same age as a guy, you know him. And then like for me, I never even thought it was even a possibility. Right. And then eventually people start saying stuff to you like, oh, they're looking at you and you're like, what? Anyway, so you never went AAA, but like Woolwich had a great minor hockey program. And so you play that the whole way up, and then we make the Sugar Kings the same age, right?
Yeah. And again, you and I spent a lot of time together that year at 16 because we're the young guys. The older guys, after bus trips and that, would head out to Waterloo or go down to the bar and whatever. So you and I would just kind of hang out and do whatever, right? After the games, go back, have a beer, and then I'm walking back to the farm after that. So
be over at Shotzi's, right, or in the basement or whatever, have a couple pints, and then
So then I mean, after that, things happened pretty quickly, and got drafted.
So it was that first year though, you were rookie of the year. I remember you used to always make fun of me because do you remember? You call yourself Roy.
That's right. Of course, it's the only.
It's okay. It didn't hurt. That's I don't recall. I don't remember.
Well, I'm just happy I got that one because it's the only Sugar Kings trophy you didn't get. So you got all the other Sugar Kings trophies. So I wrestled that one away from you. So and I think that was only because we had good forwards that year. So you didn't get a ton of ice time as much as you would have liked. So
I thought going to junior B out of minor hockey was probably one of the biggest jumps I ever had to make. I don't know if NCAA was harder. I don't know if pro was harder. I really think going from playing AAA Bantam to junior B, and you see Dale Wideman, you see Brian Clemmer, and like those are your teammates, and you're like, well, what's on these other teams?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, for you, like, lucky for me, I mean, I was 6'1", 6'2", and 200 pounds, whereas
I'm sure if I had pubic hair at the time.
Your measurements would have been a little bit different, run with these guys with beards trying to run you, right? So I mean, one of the things I had going for me in Elmira too, it was no secret that skating wasn't my strong suit. I was always good at the game of hockey, had good vision, could shoot and pass and score, but skating was never a strong suit. So the old Elmira Arena was just a blessing for me because it was so tiny that I didn't have to cross over and go backwards too fast because I could just grab guys.
When did you switch from forward to D? Because folks that are listening, Rodney and I ran amok as forwards. I was the centerman, you were the winger, and you were a forward growing up with me. And then it was on the Sugar Kings. I believe you played defense that rookie year, right?
Yeah. So up until Pee Wee, which I'm not even sure the age groups now, probably about 12 years old, I was forward and we had played together, and I would kind of lumber up and down the wing and
put up a lot of points
and slap the pucks at the net and stuff. But and then I moved to defense basically when Wideman went to Guelph AAA, and
then they needed a guy,
and we needed defensemen. So I played defense all the way until I played for the Sugar Kings until I was done at 16 there. And when I got drafted to the OHL and showed up to training camp, I remember my first meeting with Brian Kilrea. He said, "You're going to play left wing." I said, "All right, I'll do what I can. I haven't played forward in years. I don't really." He's like, "Well, you'll never play defense here. You can hardly skate."
That's what he said.
I thought, you know what? Forward it is. If that's where you're going to put me, that's where I'll stay.
One thing I remember is I was the very last pick of the draft. I think it was like 8th round, very last pick one year. And they had some weird draft, but then the next season you could draft our age group or the year younger. And basically all the good players of 83s were drafted well before me the year before, but they took you very high. They took you 5th round, and that was with the whole other age group, right?
Yeah. So
they wanted you bad because they just didn't take all the 84s after the first 4 rounds. They skip all the 84s, any other 83 that's out there still to take you, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I took that as a compliment. There were a lot of good, there were a lot of good players that got taken after me too. But, you know, you look at how those things work out, and there's a lot of good players, or a lot of players that got taken before me that hardly played 50 games in the OHL. So it goes both ways. Right. So, yeah, I got picked in the 5th round to the Ottawa 67s. I did hear whispers after that St. Mike's Majors wanted me because they, again, had a really old, small arena and thought I would be really good there.
Right.
So the whispers I heard years later was that St. Mike's wanted to take me in the 5th round, and they were a couple picks behind Ottawa. So if maybe someone with loose lips said a little too much, and I might have ended up in St. Mike's. But
and that's the thing, is how different your life is. Like, I find it interesting because NCAA, you get to choose, kind of. If they recruit you, if you're good enough, you hopefully can have options of choosing which school to go to. But OHL, you get drafted and you get no say.
Yeah. It is what it is, right?
I would have had to live in Brampton. You think I'd fit in there? I don't think so. I get scared in big cities. I need room to breathe.
Yeah, the fresh air, not the not the 407.
No, I couldn't handle that shit. But yeah, I find that interesting. So I think, like, you loved Ottawa based off your email still. Like, you went there with the anticipation of never getting traded.
Did you notice that? Did you pick up my email?
I saw the 67 in the email. I was like, well, what would have happened if he got traded? Because I know he made that probably right when he was leaving, so he could email Leslie while he was there.
So anybody who knows anything about hockey or whatever, so that email actually was my first email that I ever created in my entire life. And I was 17 years old.
Same with mine.
And I was sitting in
mine's for Brandon Dietrich.
it was in the high school in Ottawa, and it was between classes, and we were there with the English teacher, and it's like, okay, we got to create you an email. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I did Rod Bauman 6'7". And now anybody who has a hockey background at all, they just kind of, when I tell them my email now, they just kind of look at me. It's like, really? Yeah. You still have the Rod Bauman 6'7" email? I'm like, oh, why wouldn't you? It's great. It still works.
Mine is the Ted for Brad Dietrich. It's just my name before it's Brad Dietrich. But yeah, no, I know. Once you make those emails, they really stick with you. Our age group, there's a lot of hotmails out there. You know, the younger generation, there's a lot more Gmails.
Yeah, there's not too many people under 25 that have a Hotmail address.
I've sent a few links via email the last year. But what age were you when the old man sold the farm?
I was in Ottawa. I wasn't finished in Ottawa yet. I think I would have been about 19 And I was the youngest, so I kind of flew the coop. My sister, I think she went to Australia for a couple of years, and my brothers were starting their lives and their careers, so no one was really around home anymore. So they had this farm on the edge of town that no one was really working, and so yeah, my dad sold the farm and we moved into Elmira.
I still remember the first time I came over to check the place out after a season wherever I had been or whatever. We went over there. What a shuffleboard table. Whew.
That's a nice games room they set up there. And I tell you, going from 120-year-old farmhouse where you had snow on the insides of the windows of your bedroom, and you had about eight blankets just to stay warm in the winter. This was a Taj Mahal. It really was. It was fantastic. We had air conditioning, and it was unbelievable.
And it's a nice location for John Deere there at Elmira, right? Looks good out there.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. So what do I got here? The one thing I gotta say though is, like, I just saw nephew Reed there, Dana and Scoot's boy. They just won, the under-9s just won a tournament this weekend, and it made me remember our times. But then when they go in for the huddle, the first kid's last name I see was Wideman. And then there was a Clemmer. And it just made me think of the way people play hockey at Elmira, because I always talk on here about like where you come from. Your friends growing up really shape who you are. And I think assholes like you did that. Anyways, like the way people played hockey at Elmira, it really hasn't changed. Like the Clemmer boys, the Wideman boys, the Bauman boys, the Martins, they work hard, right?
And it's fantastic. I mean, so Brian Clemmer's son is on our team, and he's good friends with my son Sam, and it's fantastic to see. It's like comes the next generation. 20 years later, or whatever, 35 years behind us, or whatever it is, but
it is cool to see.
20 years behind us, and they're starting to become friends and form these relationships, and they get together and rip around. It's like looking in a mirror.
If there's a pitcher, batter, catcher tournament at some point, we could go watch. We'll just be in the beer gardens, save the arms.
I can't help. I won't be able to help myself. I will have to sponsor it. I will give them the $400 to go buy two yards of topsoil and plunk it in someone's yard. Hopefully not mine. And
the good tennis balls.
And the good 10 tennis balls.
Yeah. I'll do the garage sailing. I'll go rip it around and find the good old wood bats for oh God, no, it is fun when you see like the kids now with the relationships. And then I just see Reed, and I see the Weavers, the Martins, the Baumans, and like the way they play hockey, the way like I grew up watching the Clemmers, watching the Widemans, watching you guys play. Like, I mean, I was always a small skill guy, but I don't think anybody ever called me like soft, and it was because I played with guys like you, and I realized like you can't be soft in Elmira.
Yeah, and it doesn't work like that. And if you're on our line and you're out there with us, well, then you're a few inches taller too, right? So
I was much taller when I was out there with you guys. Yeah.
I don't know if it was. I don't even think it was. It was it was just unknown intensity. I think it was just the pure compete that you didn't want someone else to have the puck, and you chased them around and you smashed them.
And we all had it. We all had that. You
didn't care if you fell, you swung, you got back up, you just chased them, and you came to the bench and when you were exhausted.
And then it's like, it's the way we did everything. Everything was full speed. It was, we did the best at everything we did, whether that was one pitch baseball, pitcher, batter, catcher. We were going to host the best tournament we could possibly make. It was going to be set up the best. But like, it was the same when we play hockey, or whatever we did it to the best of our abilities. Right.
And the road breakers.
Anyways, moving on though. Your older brother, Randy, we talked about, I remember going out to watch him play for the Wellesley Applejacks Junior D, right?
Yep, that was when it was Junior D. And so the year before I played for the Sugar Kings, I was 15, and my fallback was to go play up an age group with the midget team in Elmira, in Woolwich. And and I thought this would be fantastic. So I went out to the Wellesley Applejacks Tryouts, and I was doing pretty good on defense. And I actually got paired up with my older brother, Randy, who was like 20 at the time. And it was like a giant on skates standing beside you.
So big out there.
And I remember the one exhibition game, this big guy from the other team. And at like 15, this guy was big in 19 or 20. And he took a run at me. And Randy came skating over. And this guy was ready for Randy to fight him. And Randy grabbed him and just held him up and punched him in the face until the guy fell on the ground. And I was just awestruck. I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is going to be the best year of my life, playing hockey in Wellesley this year. And so I remember the conversation I had with the coaches when they ended up cutting me from that team. And lo and behold, guess who the coach was? Lifelong friend Dennis Wideman. It was his older brother Darren was the head coach, and he cuts me. And his main reason was that I was only going to be there for 1 year, and then I was going to be on the Sugar King, so he was going to take someone else that'd be around longer. And I was just wild. I couldn't believe it.
So he cut you. Darren cut you.
Yeah,
getting cut hurts. It really does.
It was. Yeah, I was a little rattled, but I wanted to play there with my older brother. But then at the same time, I was going and playing against guys 2 years older than me in Woolwich, and had good friends in Chauncey and Rank. And
the other thing is you get to be the guy too, right? And like you're playing junior D at 15 or whatever that's going to be. I don't know how much you play, but like in minor hockey your last year there, you would have been the guy. You would have played a ton.
Yeah. And I think that probably helped too. So yeah, it's funny how things work out at the time.
I just ran into Darren a couple weeks ago at a hockey rink. He's in the same circles as me now in this hockey world. It's funny how it all comes back. Okay. Do you think when you got drafted to Ottawa, was Ballantyne from Elmira have something to do with it? Because he was our assistant coach that year. And obviously, like most people are that meet you, he was a big fan of Rodney Bauman, right?
So he was also a scout for the 67s at the time. So he was kind of keeping an eye on this junior B loop. And so he told me that, he was that, you're going to get drafted to the OHL. You're going to get drafted to the OHL. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I just kind of went about my business. And then next thing you know, so here's another story about the draft. It was down in the Hershey Center, I think, in Mississauga. So Dennis already played in the OHL for Sudbury.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there for the first 2 rounds. Well, the first 2 rounds take 2 hours. And it's painful, right? So I'm like, I'm not going in the first 2 rounds. Like there's guys like Patrick O'Sullivan and Corey Perry or whoever else. Like these guys are going in the first 2 rounds. And so I'm sitting there waiting. I'm like, this is nonsense. It's getting to lunchtime. So Dennis came up. He has done having his summer meeting with his team there down at the table. He come up. He said, let's go grab some lunch. So my mom and dad stayed there. We went out for lunch, got a pita or something, came back. He had his old green Grand Am. And what happens? Some guy pulls out of a gas station and sideswipes him. Well, we're sitting there in downtown Mississauga with the police. We're waiting, getting all this paperwork done up. We finally get back to the arena, and my mom's sitting up where we were sitting when we left, and my dad's gone. I come walking up there, and it's like the 6th round or something. I come walking up there, and she's like, well, you missed it. I'm like, come on. I'm like, for real? And she's like, yep. She says, guess where? I said, I looked at her. I thought for a minute. I'm like, Ottawa. She's like, yep. So down I went to the table, and who's down at the table? Jeff Ballantyne and Brian Kilrea and Joe Rowley. It's the old regime from the Ottawa 67s, and went down there and met them all. And I was just on cloud 9 thinking, this is unbelievable.
But you got so Gloria and Howie take you all the way down there so you could be there when your name gets called, and then you went out for a pita. Knowing you and Wide, you might have been out for a pint at Gretzky's. Were you at Gretzky's or what?
Yeah, we went down to Gretzky's again. That's what took so long.
Leave the Grand Dam, get the limo. Where's the road breakers?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Something special like that you wait for to hear your name called, and then I bugger off and miss it. Like, unbelievable.
I'm just thinking as the parent, like, you drive your kid all the way down there, you get the parking, and then the kid screws off and gets drafted. He's not even there. Okay. So obviously you grew up in Elmira, you've been there your whole life. You never think you're ever going to leave. You do get drafted. And then all of a sudden, like, everything you knew, all the guys you knew, all of us, like, you're leaving and you're going to spread your wings, eh?
Yeah.
And leaving Leslie.
Yeah, this is leaving the angel behind. So now picture this at 17 years old and
pen pals, right?
And yeah, and parents that are worried about kids flying the coop at 20 or whatever, 18, 19, 20, 22. I look at it now, like, I put a bunch of my clothes and a few of my belongings, rammed it in the back of my old gray pickup truck at 1989 Silverado.
I remember it. Yeah,
that thing was sweet business.
Oh God, when you had your own truck and you worked hard and made your own money, and I was like, God.
Anyway, so yeah, I had that thing loaded up, and my mom was there to see me off. Obviously, my dad was at work, and it was just like, well, see you later. Mom was crying. I jumped in my truck, and I've never been to Ottawa before. I've never driven on too much I've driven on the 401, but not too much. And here I am, 17, with most of my belongings, and blasting down in an old pickup truck and driving into a city where I don't know a single soul. So it was,
and it's time to grow up, right? And
yeah,
it's like until you get out there and start doing stuff, you really don't get forced to. I mean, I don't know. For me, it wasn't until I left home that you really have to grow up a bit, right?
Well, yeah. So I get to the hotel and check in, and everyone else is there with their parents, like all the other 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are there to try out and hoping to get signed. And I wasn't signed yet. And we get there, it's September long weekend. And like, my parents didn't come out with me. I'm just kind of there and have my own pickup truck. And they're like, who is this guy? Right? Like, yeah. I find out later from the other 17-year-olds that they thought I was just some 20-year-old stumbler that wanted to walk on tryout.
Oh man.
So yeah, I just kind of went out there. And one of the other stories is I went out for the first ice time, or no, it would have been a few ice times. Some players got sent back from the NHL rookie camps, and Lance Galbraith, I had an old pair of gray blade Air 70s or something, not even the Air 90s, which were the big deal at the time. I had to get the cheap ones because I just needed new skates for tryouts. And he seen me stumbling around out there. He came back from the Toronto Maple Leafs training camp, and he said, "We are going to be horrible this year." when he saw that I was on the team and I was in practice, he thought, this guy is horrendous. So
that guy's came up before in the shed. Yeah, sounds like he's got a lot of sound bites.
So yeah, he's a character, that one.
But you guys weren't brutal that year. You guys won it all your first year, right?
Yeah, and it was fantastic. Like, it was Adam Smith. He's from Owen Sound area, Wyerton,
right? Yeah.
Another 83 who's our age, who we locked horns with in junior B. And
I remember playing against him in minor hockey when I was playing for Guelph. And he played for, what would it be, Grey Bruce Highlanders probably.
Yeah.
And I remember playing him, and he was a big boy, and he played a mean game.
He played for keeps, and I would liken it to, like, I don't know, like a Chris Pronger, a Barrett Jackman, like, just a hard game. And I mean, anyway, we were out there the same year as rookies, so we just kind of alternated. We played the same style. Like, neither of us were scoring, obviously, at 17 in the OHL. We just kind of hammered up and down the wings, and then we were on the fourth line together. He was right wing, I was left wing.
Really? You guys were the fourth line?
Oh yeah.
And you guys would have been up and down the walls just
it was was bloody murder up and down the walls, and it was unbelievable. And I mean, I never fought a ton. I did some, and then basically got to Ottawa, and nobody ever told me to fight, but it was kind of like I knew I had to fight because I wasn't as talented as these guys. Me and him, we were bigger than most, and we just started punching guys. And so we kind of split time in the lineup. We played together a bit. There was a couple other 17-year-olds, and I think it was in November, near the end of November, a couple months into the season, in and out of the lineup. And you wouldn't know if you were playing in the game. You'd come to the game ready to play, and then you'd see if your jersey was in your stall, and it would be like, oh, rats, it's not in my stall. Okay, I'm going up to the owner's box to have beer during the game. so
Where's Brian Kilrea from?
So he's Ottawa. But anyway, so it was November weekend or whatever, and it was a 3-game weekend, and it was a home game Friday, and I think I scored and maybe had a fight, and then I was put in back in on Saturday, and I think maybe I scored, and then Sunday I got a goal and an assist, and then from there I never came out of the lineup again. Like it was unbelievable.
Oh, and that's, you said November?
That was probably 2 months into my rookie season. Yeah.
And you would have been fighting for your life because you would have wanted it so bad, right?
Well, it was not even really like I was never chasing guys around asking them to fight. It just kind of came to me. Like whenever somebody asked me to fight, I would just fight them and then carry on. So it just kind of, and then word starts spreading that, oh, this guy fought this guy and he beat him up, or not beat him up, but this guy's tough. And it just, you don't even have to beat anyone up. If you get in fights, people get scared of you. Like it's unbelievable when you're 17, 18, 19 years old. And
I was scared of all the guys that fought. But I find it interesting. I remember going to the Ottawa 67s game with the Elmira Sure Kings. Remember when they'd have those awesome team trips, and we went to St. Lawrence and Ottawa, right? You were on that team. Oh, you shaved my arm.
Yes, of course I did. You fell asleep because you drank too much.
Got my tongue in my mouth though.
You're lucky. I had to shave your arm because that was the only thing that had hair.
But I thought those trips were so fun to bring a team together, and like you'd show up at the hotel and you just fill the whole bathtub with beers and ice. The team would just get absolutely mangled.
So we went to that, that we stopped in Ottawa first and then went to St. Lawrence. And I mean, we went to the Ottawa 67s game, and Mark Bell and Dan Tessier, they were the all-stars there. I mean, Nick Boynton was on that team too, I think. And, or maybe he had just graduated after the Memorial Cup win, but it was in year 2000. And we went and watched this game. I think Mark Bell had like 4 goals and Dan Tessier had like 6 points or something. And the place has 9,000 people in it. And it's just like.
And you were playing there the next year.
The very next year, I'm stepping out on the ice, going from Elmira, where there's 300 people watching the game, going into a place where there's 8,500, 9,500 people. It's just, and they go crazy when you try running somebody. So it was just fantastic to me.
You know what I remember about that game, which is funny. What I remember is Brian Clemmer was on our team. He's a 20-year-old. He works full-time job. Been one of the biggest beauties I know. And he was having pints with one of the coaches, one of the assistant coaches. They were having pints during the game. And I was like, oh, like we got beers back at the hotel. You wouldn't have to pay so much money for them. He goes, it's $50, Wally. I'll make that by lunch on Monday. And I was like, I don't know if I made $50 in my life.
$50? Are you kidding me?
I'm like, who am I? Like, when I was like, we were 15, right? And he's 20 years old and he's drinking beers with the assistant coach. And I'm like, this is my lot. Like we were playing together, I think, at the time.
Yeah. And then we didn't tell him that we were making homebrew to save 75 cents. Yeah.
I never got into that shit. That was you and Shotzi, you sickos.
It ended pretty quickly. We poured out the last few cases.
Oh, that's like the homemade wine Dana and Scoot were making. Oh. I didn't even think there was alcohol in it till there was.
Yeah, and they tried selling you.
Oh God. Okay, moving on. So you guys win it all your first year though. So you
Yeah.
don't come out of the lineup after November, and you're a role player on a championship team, and those are big roles. Championship teams need role players to be good at what they're doing.
Yeah, and we had our first line guys, and they took care of most of the goals. We had our the first and second line guys. We had 3 19-year-old defensemen that were all drafted pretty high in the second or third rounds. Like we had legitimate team, but we were considered a band of misfits. Like we didn't finish much higher than 500 in the regular season, but there was some kind of swagger with our team. There wasn't any
scrappiness, maybe.
Yeah, there wasn't any superstars on our team, and everybody was just on the same page. When we hit the playoffs, it was incredible. And I don't know if you can tell unless you're on a team that is on that same page. And I think that's what makes championship teams, that nobody cares about. There's not one individual player anymore. The only thing that matters is the outcome, and you'll do whatever it takes to get there. And the first round we played North Bay. I remember the one game I think I had 2 goals in the one first round playoff game. And a couple guys got hurt, and I spent a little bit of time on the first line with our best player, Joe Talbot, at the time. And I mean, this guy is silky smooth and fast, and I'm just like slugging away trying to keep up. And my job is to basically forecheck and pop pucks out to him. And it was unbelievable. We just went.
And so you went from being a 5th rounder a year after you could have been drafted, right? With a different age group, they want you that bad, and then you get there and you work your way up. So Ottawa's got to be feeling great about their draft pick and what they've done here. But you're playing first line in the playoffs.
Yeah, really? Like, so we played Plymouth in the finals, and every sports writer and every analyst had Plymouth in 4 or 5, and they had Stephen Weiss, and I think Rob Zepp was their goalie. They had like a lot of draft picks. I think even Erskine played on that team as a D-man.
When it's a lot of times in junior hockey, like when teams are better than other teams, are just better, right? And it's like the London Knights over the years, like they're just better than the other teams. So usually those teams do win.
Yeah, they have the talent, and I mean, it was, so the turning point of that series was game 5. We were in Plymouth, so our owner, we played game 4 in Ottawa. I think we won. I might have won or lost, but we flew down to Plymouth, and I think we were down 3-0 early in the game in Plymouth to go down 3-2 in the series, and that might have been the nail in the coffin. So me back to the 4th line with Brett McGrath and Sean Scully, who was my roommate at the time, and we went out in that game 5, halfway through the game, down whatever it was, 3 goals, and we came up with 2 goals.
Your line did. It's the 4th line did.
The 4th line comes, and that was Peter DeBoer was the coach of this team, by the way. So, like,
of the Plymouth team,
of the Plymouth Whales.
I remember when they were. Yeah, I was him in that spot
before he came to the Kitchener Rangers. So anyway, our 4th line of 17-year-olds, just working away, doing what we could do. We come up with 2 goals, and
all of a sudden you're back in the game, and then the Stars wake up and.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. Joe Talbot and Miguel DeLille, probably. I can't remember who scored the other one, but what do you know? We win that game, and the owner flew us down. He flew us from Ottawa Airport, I think, to Detroit Airport, and bust us out to Plymouth. So he spent some bucks because he wanted a championship, right? So he did this, and we go there and we lay an egg the first 2 periods. So anyway, we come away with this win. We go back to Ottawa for game 6. And we had a Russian on our team, Vadim Sazonov, and I think we were up 2-1 or something in the final couple minutes, and he's chasing down an icing that he was nowhere near getting, but he's just doing his best. And that guy loved vodka, by the way. Anyway, he dives for this icing, which he wasn't close to, slaps the defenseman's skate, smashes into the board, well, separates his shoulder. So this guy's out of the last 10 minutes of the game. So I ended up playing a little bit on the first line with Joe Talbot again, get an assist in game 6 of the finals with Joe Talbot again. And we end up winning in game 6 at home to win the OHL championship.
And you're playing on the top line. Oh,
and yeah. So,
and Joe Talbot, he's came up before because he was a legend with the Sheffield Steelers in the UK, right?
Yes. Yeah, he spent a lot of time over there.
Rumor has it he would drink Bailey's in his coffee before games. You know?
What a super guy.
Yeah, no, and great player. I played against him once over there. Yeah, he's a good player. But that's really cool that and it takes guys willing to step up and do whatever to win championships, right? Yeah, and I know it's ridiculous. I talk about my U11 team, but we had a kid go to Florida for 2 weeks during March break. He's our top 6 forward. He's one of our best players. And they just left for 2 weeks. In the middle of the OMHA finals, he was just gone for the whole series. And we had Cohen Stam step up. And this kid, he was up and down the wall. He was going to the net hard. He was chipping it in, chipping out. And he did everything we needed to win the series and make it to the finals, right?
And it's a beautiful thing. It's just inside. You want.
And what you said about when a team is a team, and there's not many teams in the world that get to the point where they actually don't care who scores the goals. They actually don't. They just care about winning.
Yeah.
That's when you do special shit.
Yeah. And it was just, that first year. And so here I am, a year and a half removed from playing on the Elmira Sugar Kings, winning the Rookie of the Year away from Brent Walton. and now I'm jumping on the ice as an OHL champion. It's just unbelievable how things unfold. And now,
you had never played AAA, you're playing midget at Elmira, and then we both make it. And you're the hometown boy that never went AAA and make it as a 16-year-old. That was unheard of, right?
Yeah. And never did extra, well, you can tell by my skating, but never did extra camps, or you can't probably get away with it now anymore, but you got to put extra time in and extra money. But the resources weren't there with a large family and basically one income at the time. So I just kind of gave her hell when I could.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you did. And it's deep down determination and being a teammate. And like I said, I learned a lot from the people I was around growing up with. And my one buddy, Jeff Lavecchio, he does a lot of special things. He's training NHL players and doing all sorts of stuff. He always says, look at your closest 5 friends, and they'll determine what type of person and, what kind of success you're going to have in life. And growing up with Lackner, Wides, you, Scott, Chauncey, I don't want to miss everybody, but we were good people. When we went out in public, we all held each other accountable for how we behaved. We were good people, I thought.
Yeah. No one was out to hurt anybody, or
we just wanted to have fun.
we're just a bunch of young kids going out and enjoy their younger years. Right. And and do it with some respect for everyone around you too.
Yeah. And it was weird for me because I grown up with you, and then you leave to go to the OHL, and our paths are so different after that, right? You go to the OHL and I'm doing my thing. I stay at Elmira and we're winning there. You're winning the OHL, but it's just interesting how each way everybody goes, and it affects everything totally different. But do you ever make it back to Ottawa? You ever been there?
They had a reunion there a couple of years ago. So after I was finished there in about 2005 or whatever, the next couple of years, it's still part of your life. And your teammates are still there. So you go back, and I went back a couple weekends there and for skates before I went for the American League tryouts and stuff, and say hi to the guys and whatever, because you're kind of the big fish then, right? So yeah, this is so and so. He's the team leader and whatever. You go back and you have some fun for a weekend and then you take off. But we went back about 2 years ago. It was just pre-COVID. I think it was 2019. They did a big 50th anniversary for the 67s, and it was fantastic. Like you see all these guys. Everyone's kind of brushing up on 35 and 40 now. And you listen to their stories, but there's just so much joy in them. It's just guys talking about when they were in their teens. It's like, this is it was just
like coming out to the shed.
it's just such a great memory in your life that these guys are getting together and shooting the breeze about the times we had when we were young.
Well, hey, I gotta do it right now because I always forget to talk about the shed I'm supposed to talk about. June 25th, Rodney, I'm hosting a golf tournament at Ainsdale Golf Course. It's a 2 Ales and Hockey Tales golf tournament. All it is I'm hosting a party at a golf course, and it is a 2 p.m. shotgun, a roast beef dinner, and then a live band after. And I hope you can be there. I hope Chauncey's there. I hope everybody can come, and I want to just have a time. Okay?
This is June 25th.
Yes. June 25th, Ainsdale Golf Course. Okay.
All right.
Get so you register at aleshockeytales.com, folks. $150 a player to support the band, the dinner, and the golf. I'm not that into prizes because I just want to have a time. There might be prizes if people bring them, but the reason I started the shed was I missed all my friends all over the place. I miss my friends from Elmira. I miss you. And I hope everybody can try and make it. I know everybody's busy and summers fill up, especially with kids and all the stuff going on, but I hope everybody can make it. Okay.
It sounds like a good day.
It's going to be a good day. aleshockeytales.com, folks. Sign up, get your foursomes in. Let's do this thing,
Beautiful. Can I get extra horseradish with the roast beef?
I believe I can talk to the owners about that. Yeah. we can talk to them about that. Okay. You won the championship. Moving on. I hope you're there.
Yep.
Hope Chauncey's there. I hope everybody's there. You guys went to the Memorial Cup though, then, because you won the championship as the ragtag team that wasn't supposed to win it.
Yep. We were the band of misfits. We go to the Memorial Cup. We kind of walk in there with a little swagger. So again, we're the underdog.
Where's that?
And that's been it's in Regina, Saskatchewan. So, I mean, it's not, how should I put this nicely? Nothing against Regina, but I mean, it's
not much going on.
There's not much going on. And, but who cares? It's a Memorial Cup. It doesn't matter where you stay. Yeah. You're there to play hockey. You're not there for anything else. But, so the Valdor Voyeurs are there, or Voyagers. Voyeurs, yeah, that's a good one.
Forers, aren't they?
Voyeurs, something like that. The Watchers.
Yeah, anyways, people cut down trees, right?
the Red Deer Rebels, the host Regina Pats, and then us, the Ragtags, the OHL champions. We come out there, and it's kind of funny. So anyway, the only reason I touched on that story about our Russian that dove into the boards there. So he's out with a separated shoulder now for the Memorial Cup. He's in a sling, and he was a Maple Leafs draft pick, but he was on our first line with Joe Talbot. So now he's out, and yeah, I can't remember if there were any other injuries or just him, but we were pretty beaten up. Like we played hard the 4 series leading into that. And keep in mind, before the Memorial Cup, before you get there, you got to go 4 or 7 game series. So we didn't play on the outskirts. We were sore. Anyway, no excuses. We go to the Memorial Cup. We win our first game against the Regina Pats. So we're in a pretty good shape. Our next game is against the Red Deer Rebels, champions of the Western Hockey League. Colby Armstrong, Martin Erad, I think, was on that team. We spent some time with the Predators. They had some good players.
Was Matt Keith? I think I just had some of these guys on. Yeah.
He possibly could have been. But so we had this... We were neck and neck with this Red Deer Rebels team in the round robin tourney, or the round robin game. And I believe we were in a 2-2 game. and we ended up giving up 2 shorties. And we lost 4-2 that game. So if we had pulled out that game, we would have had to bye to the final. And anyways, so the next
shorties,
the next game was against Val d'Or, and they had Simon Gamache. I think he had 150 points in the Quebec League that year. And anyways, they I think the wheels were falling off after that. They lit us up the next game. And so anyway, we had to go to a tiebreaker game against the Regina Pats, the host again, which we beat the first game. Well, here we are now, and whatever.
Don't play with your class down there. I can hear it.
Sorry.
Fill it up.
I'm
I know you're getting upset.
I'm twirling the whiskey glass now. But yeah, we ended up losing in the tiebreaker game, which we would have had a long road after that. We would have had to beat,
you would have still win the next game, and then the next game.
We would have had to beat Red or Regina, then Val d'Or, then Red Deer. And at that point, we were pretty beaten down, and we lost the tiebreaker game, and we ended up basically placing fourth in that tourney.
I find it very interesting in all the leagues I played in, where if you can win something, but then you got to keep playing and try and win something else, it gets confusing for everybody. Because it's like with the Sugar Kings, you try and win the Cherry Cup and you win the Cherry Cup, but some teams would think that's really good. But like our mentality was like, you have to win the Sutherland Cup or you haven't won shit. Lots of people would have been happy with the Cherry Cup, but you know, you got to do more. And it's like, you guys won the OHL championship. You beat every other team in the OHL. So like, Did you get to floor it? Did you get to have like the full deal?
Oh yeah. Like we had, I think 5 days, I don't know, maybe 5 days a week off between the Memorial Cup and when we won the OHL championship. So, we ended up going out, and you know what's funny about that night? Guess who was in town the night that we won the OHL championship? My parents came up, and Chauncey and Leslie came up when we won Game 6 in the OHL championship. So
Chauncey made his way. He's a good guy.
Yeah, what a good friend that guy is. So we went out. And we were just on cloud 9, might have had a couple beers on our way downtown. I think Leslie was driving my 89 Silverado. I was kind of hanging out the window. Well,
Howie and Gloria went back to the hotel or what?
Yep. So we're headed downtown to the Rum Shack at the time. Don't think the bar exists anymore. But anyway, the whole team's going there, and what happens? Me hanging out the window, just cranking the tunes. Oh, the cherries go on. Cops pull up. You know what's going on, whatever. And okay, yeah, well, not much. Just won the OHL championship. Pretty pumped. He's like, any driver had anything to drink? Les like, nope, she's good to go. All right, take him home. Yeah, sure thing, officer. And then we go get in the lineup at the Rum Shack and go to get in the front door, and guess who's standing there? Well,
the same cop.
The same cop. He said, I thought I told you to go home. And I'm standing there with my fake ID in my hand. So he basically kind of brushes me off, and we go back, and we had some beers at a place close to my billet's place before we went back.
Good thing he didn't make any problems about it, right?
Oh no.
I'm gonna do some name dropping now because I guess that's what you do on podcasts. Some of the guys on that team, one I played with very briefly, it was interesting, and he was very intense. Zenon Kenopka.
Intense is an understatement for that.
I would say, yeah.
And
like you can be intense. I can be intense, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I remember, and just larger than life, that guy. He was one of the cogs in the wheel of that championship team. It was him and Galbraith and Joe Talbot and Seamus Kotick, our goalie. And it was just, these guys were, the intensity level was through the roof. And obviously his career and his games in the NHL show it. But I remember, do you want to hear a story? Am I interrupting or no?
I just thought of something because you talk about small world here. Is I play with Z in Syracuse. I get sent down to Dayton.
Yeah.
And we go on our playoff run. We play the Idaho Steelheads in the finals. And we're out on the town. We're there for a bit and we go out for lunch or something. And I run into Z in Idaho, and he was there visiting Lance Galbraith while he was in the finals. And I go over to chat with Z and I'm like, hey man, like I was on his team that year. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Lance Galbraith would not talk to me. He would not speak to me or look at me because he wouldn't talk to someone he was going to play hockey against.
I believe it. I
I went
really
over at a restaurant. I'm like, hey, Z, how's it going, man? Like we were teammates this year. And then his buddy was sitting there and wouldn't like even like it was.
And that's the planet they were from. And I think that's why they had some success in hockey because
you're right, because and Lance Galbraith was the best player in the finals that season and they won the championship.
Yes. And there it is right there. But after that championship, hey, I guarantee you after that championship, if he ran into you on the beach in the summer, he would have gave you 10 beers, not just because he beat you, but because it was over. But
yeah, no, I know. And I got more like that too as I went on. I know. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. I don't know where we were at. I had to tell that story because I saw Z randomly in Idaho or Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
And it was him visiting Lance Galbraith.
Yeah, because he went out to Idaho, I believe, in the East Coast League after Ottawa. But anyway,
and that's where they beat the Daytona Beach Bombers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's a quick story about Kenopka. Anyway, he's larger than life guy. He was just a glue guy. He didn't care about himself. He just wanted everyone to have success and the team to have success. So he after practice, and he was tough, like. But anyway, he was an overager. So now I'm my second year, me and Adam Smith, we're after practice one day, him and John Zion, draft pick of the Maple Leafs. They were thick as thieves, right? They're buddies, and John Zion's from Ottawa. They're the same age, and he was a tough guy too, but like strong, but he never got involved in any of the nonsense because he was a talented defenseman. So anyway, so it was Zenon who did all the nonsense. So after practice one day, in the back room where our exercise bikes were, they take hockey tape and draw a circle on the floor. And they say, Bauman, you're up first, and then Smitty's up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, we're going to wrestle and fight inside this ring until you either get pinned, you either tap out, or you get thrown outside the ring. So here I'm like, are you kidding me, right? Like, he's like, nope.
Like with Zenon?
Yeah, so it's me against Zenon. And then after that, after me against Zenon, then it's Zenon against Adam Smith. So here we are. I'm like, no, we're not doing it. And Zion and Kenopka, they're the bigger 20-year-olds, are like, yeah, we're doing it. And so I'm like, okay, so here we go. Coaching staff is all going home for the night, whatever. It's just basically the trainer that's there with us. And
I would pay money to see you and Zenon Kenopka wrestle. These guys, they push the exercise bikes outside this ring that we were trying to fight in and throw each other outside of the ring. They push these exercise bikes about 2 feet outside the ring, right? Against the wall. Yeah, whatever. But so me and Zenon here, both of us weigh about 220 pounds, and we're fighting in the back of this dressing room, in the exercise room. So now we're grappling a bit. There was a couple, I wouldn't say takedowns, but just kind of moves and stuff. We're sweating. It's just like, it's UFC almost. Yes.
And so anyway, I kind of grabbed him a certain way, And I just kind of picked him up and threw him. Well, he flies out of the ring. Well, not flies, but I toss him outside of the ring, and he lands and smashes his head on an exercise bike. And he's busted open. Like, he is like busted open. So it's like the look on Zion's face and Adam Smith, who's waiting on deck to fight him. I think it was just like Zion is like, oh my God. Smith is like, this is fantastic. Now I don't have to fight him. And Kenopka's like, how bad is it? Because I just hit my head. So he's bust open for like, I don't know, a couple staples and a few stitches in his hairline. And they have to go to the hospital and sit there for 4 hours to get stitches that night. So
that's what you get for organizing no reason to wrestle matches.
I think he just wanted to stake his claim to King of the Jungle, right? Like he didn't want anybody else. He just wanted me and then Smitty. And
he wanted to be the lion.
Exactly. So him and Zion went to the hospital, got stitches. And so he comes in the next day. His helmet can hardly fit on. He's got gauze. And he's like, no coaches can know about this or whatever. Like, don't tell anybody. And so anyway, we kept it quiet. I felt horrible. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, no biggie. It just kind of happened. And I was just like, oh my God. So that tells you the intensity of Zenon and Kenopka.
Well, and to speak of the intensity of our group is, you may or may not remember this one. You and Chauncey did the same thing in his basement one night. And you guys had a wrestling match. I don't know, there might have been boxing started it, but it turned into a wrestling match to the point where you were like, by the end, I was just watching it because I didn't want to fight you or Chauncey. At the end of it, the way it ended, you were like, don't tell anybody this happened. I was like, I'm not.
I do remember that, and I still kind of feel bad. But you know what's funny about that? I mean, yeah, I had the upper hand. I'm taller. I weighed more and probably stronger than Chauncey at the time. But he's that Sean, that's Sean's bloodline. Like he's not giving up, right? Like he's
gonna give her.
It's
he's strong too. I know.
It's a pit bull. He was a strong bugger, and but I mean, I kind of felt bad, but at the same time, he wouldn't stop.
Oh God, no, I know, and like I said, you look at your 5 closest friends and like you see the competitiveness and you see the battle and you two, and I was like, well, I give it up.
So we call it competitiveness. Others might call it stupidity, but anyway.
Yeah, some people might call it stupidity. We did a lot of stupid shit. Okay, so name dropping. Zenon Kenopka, we got Joe Talbot. We already talked about him. So he was your first line center. He was the guy when you guys won it then, eh? What was Mark Lefevre? He was one of the coaches in the UK that I reached out to when I was trying to go there. We had a little back and forth, and then I played against him while I was there. He had like really nice hair, nice suits. He didn't look like he was from Elmira.
No, handsome boy.
Right. Pretty, like good looking. Eh? Yeah. So was he on the team a bunch while you were there?
No. So that's an interesting that you bring this up. So he was on the team before I got there as a 17-year-old. So he was 1 year older than me. So then I came as 17. He was 18, and he ended up getting sent down to Tier 2 Junior A in Nepean or somewhere out there when I made the team. So they sent him down. And so he basically kind of played on the OHL a little bit as 17-year-old, but not as an 18-year-old. And I'm not sure if he played much in the OHL after that, but he was a guy who just loved hockey. He loved it so much, and was very handsome.
Very handsome. And yeah, no, and that's how you become a coach for a long time is you just love it. And yeah,
Is be handsome. Well, but I guess that was
he did
that.
look good behind the bench. I think he was coaching Coventry when I was there, and I was like, look at the fucking hair. Like, Jesus Christ. That is
I
wild.
have another interesting story about. We had the rookie party at his house actually, but I'll tell you that story another time.
Oh, rookie parties. Remember our rookie parties, the Sugar Kings?
Nope.
Nope, me neither. Yeah. We'll talk about it. Okay. Other guys, I had Adam Smith written down. We talked about him. The other guy, Russ Moyer, he was a Sugar King that also went out there, right?
Yeah, and part of that championship team too. He was always a year ahead of me, so he's an 82. So
where was he from? Because he came to Elmira, but he also played in Fife and he played in the UK.
He is from North Bay, and talk about a man who loves hockey. Like Russ Moyer, we used to sit on, like, I don't know if you ever heard Pierre Maguire. He knows every trivia of every question that's ever played about anybody who's ever touched a puck. And Russ Moyer is not far off. He knows.
Really?
Oh my goodness. He would talk on bus trips. He would talk about guys who played in the 1980s for the Los Angeles Kings, and he played with this guy, and it was just the guy breathed hockey, and
that's
he
crazy.
he was silky smooth, and by his last 2 years in the OHL, he was a go-to guy and just smooth, great passer, and never out of position.
I remember watching him play for the Sugar Kings. I think it was the year before we made it, right? And he was a smooth skating, like just, he was noticeable when you watched him play, right?
Yeah. And him, I mean, he was 150, 60 pounds as he carried himself as a 16, 17-year-old too.
He was like the new school defenseman way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like Scott Niedermayer, but
I remember it was the year before we were trying to make the team, right? And you know your age is coming, and like you see the guys they're bringing in from wherever, and you're like, I wonder if they're gonna bring in guys like that when I'm trying to make the team, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next guy, you were good. So I find it interesting that Ottawa was pretty good the whole time you're there because you're competitive. You know what a team takes. You know what's up. Your third year, you guys played 22 playoff games.
Yeah. So this is our third year. Our team was better than our first year when we won the OHL. So we ended up against the Kitchener Rangers in the finals. And
is that with Derek Roy and Mike Richards and all those guys?
Yeah, Peter Kanko, George Hakidis, I think. Anyway, their lineup was deep and good. Anyways, we were neck and neck, and we were the only team to challenge them before they walked through the Memorial Cup tournament. So we played them in the OHL finals, and talk about a disappointment because we were neck and neck with them, like almost splitting hairs, and then they go to the Memorial Cup and just run the table. So what
was the final series?
We lost in 5 to them in 5 games, but I believe 3 went to overtime. We lost 2 in overtime to them, and then they blew us out in the 5th game, I believe. We won the first game. We lost the next 2 in overtime.
And then overtime losses can really affect things. And then,
especially consecutive. And we had, I mean, I don't know if we're still drifting off on stories or not, but
no, we're not, because I just thought of one. It's time for me to drift off of one. I was looking at your hair. It's coming in on the sides. I went to a Kitchener Rangers game against the Ottawa 67s to see you play, and you shaved the top of your head off, and now your hair actually looks like that.
You know karma. What? Some people say karma doesn't exist, but be careful, my friends. Karma is crazy. I did that. Our assistant coach, who was at the time Brian Kilrea's friend and about 70 years old, he had just a smooth top, shiny head with a little bit of gray hair on the sides. And I thought, you know what? Everyone does the spiked tips, frosted tips, like blonde hair. I'm going to do something different this year. So I grew my Mennonite beard, mostly neck beard, for the playoffs. And I still had dark brown hair at the time. But I took a Bic razor, and nobody on my team knew I was doing it. And I took a Bic razor, and I just went and I just silky smooth right the entire top,
just horseshoed it.
Just
horseshoed it.
Like someone who is 50 years old.
You did that without telling anybody?
Nope, not a soul. So I came into the dressing room, and the guys could not believe, like, I mean, I looked 25 at 17. Now I look at 19. Now I'm 19 years old with a shaved top of my head and a beard, and I'm looking 49 years old playing as a 19-year-old in the OHL finals. I mean, I'm taking my helmet off, and people are pointing like, who is this guy? And check his birth certificate because he's big and he's old, and like, what's happening here?
And he can't skate.
And he can't skate.
I remember being up in the crowd. I think I'm with like Lackner, Hogg, and Dunner and the boys, and we're there to watch you play the Kitchener Rangers. And then it's Canada. You're standing on the blue line, and you looked fully bald.
Well, and that's the things for even people who know me at home. Like I've been gone for 2-3 years now, and they don't know what's happened. And maybe I am totally bald, and they're like, "Oh my good God, what happened to him?"
Really lost hair.
He's 19 years old, and it's kind of a bitch because now I'm lucky to get I'm lucky to get the racing stripes on the side.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, it looks just like 20 years ago.
You need me to turn down the pot lights? I had a hat on, but I was sweating. So
no, I got the sunglasses out in the truck. I'll grab them in a bit. Okay. Anyways, were you gonna tell a story? Do you remember what it was, or no?
Yes.
I'm gonna tell one more before we do it. So I remember there was a tournament. I don't know what it was. There was some kind of hockey in St. Clements, and my old man went to it, and he goes, I just saw one of the Clemmer boys put a glove up to his nose and just do like a snot rocket in the middle of playing. And then he just kept playing. Like he did a snot rocket, put his glove up to his nose, shot snot on the ice while he was playing. And I was like, really? Like, I would have never thought to do that. I do that when I get off the ice. But you know what? I'm going to do it right now because I got a nose plugged, and I'm going to do a snot rocket, okay? Right now.
You got her.
But you think about that story you're about to do, and I'm going to do a snot rocket into this garbage can right now.
Oh, we were talking about the finals and the Kitchener Rangers there. So yes, we had one of the most incredible lines in junior hockey history, in my opinion, was Corey Locke at center, Matt Foy on the wing, and Scott Shepard on the other wing. And Matt Foy spent a little time with the Minnesota Wild, and Corey Locke, unbelievable hockey player. I mean, he was racking up 120, 30, 50 points a few years in the OHL, but
151 and 66 games.
So, I mean, that was our big line. And then, I mean, we were kind of the supporting cast, and Adam Smith was still there. I was still there, but we had graduated to the second and third lines, and we had we had a good supporting cast and a really good Czech goalie and Lucas Mensator. And anyway, it was a really close series, and it was heartbreaking. But I mean, the Kitchener Rangers were a little better than us, and we lost to them. And then to watch them go to the Memorial Cup Finals and just like they didn't just win every game, like they
dismantled the other teams. And then you're like,
every game.
And it's interesting, right?
Every game was by 3 or more goals, and it's just like we were that close to Canadian championship.
And you knew how good you were compared to them, and you're like, well, we're better. It's interesting. It's like this minor hockey stuff that goes on, and you're like, well, this is the real final. Like, this is who goes. So this is the real final.
Yeah. And I think, and that year, I think we both knew that. And here's another interesting tip. in the 2 overtime games we lost there. I think it was game 2. We could have went up 2-0 in the series in overtime. I was driving to the net. I tipped one at the net. It went off the post and it danced across the line. We all celebrated like it went in. And it ended up, obviously no video review or nothing, but nothing.
Back then, no.
Way back changed. Then in the Stone Age, they couldn't review that. So anyways, I don't know if it ever went in or not, but anyway, we lost to the Rangers and they were a good team. But
I understand losing sucks. I know. Okay. I get it. I remember all the losses too. Okay. I got another question. When you went to Ottawa from the farm in your pickup truck and you got there and you had finished high school at some point and they're like, okay, you can't just sit around and do nothing. What do you want to do? You went, because I became a cook. Okay. I know you didn't know I had many talents, but I like cooking. Okay. Culinary school. Did you go to culinary school?
Where did you get this information?
You told me.
I never went to culinary school. So
did you not go to take a couple classes of how to cook while you're in Ottawa? I feel like you told me that at some point in your life.
I've done so many things in my last few years in Ottawa because there wasn't much else to do. But so
you did anyway, not. So, did you not take cooking courses or no?
No, I never formally took any cooking college courses.
My research team's a joke. What a mess.
Hey, tell Colby to get up at 7:30 and get on the internet and get his facts straight.
Yeah, yeah. All he gets is a YouTube fight of you and Hendricks, and your knees buckle twice. And I'm like, what the hell?
No, so what happened was, so now I went to, this was interesting. Anyway, they gave me my high school diploma. Anyway, I mean, I wasn't a straight A student and I didn't love school, but I'm not.
You're not dumb.
No, I can easily get through anything that I put my mind to, but
yes.
I didn't want to do school anymore. So here I am at 18 years old, and they said, well, you can take any university or college courses you want. The team will pay for it. I'm like, why do I want to go to post-secondary school? Like, what am I going to do? So I signed up for like mechanical engineering, and they're like, oh, that's like a 30-hour course a week. And that coinciding with a OHL schedule, it's not really conducive, right?
It's not feasible.
No. So I got rid of that idea pretty quickly. And then my billet was like, well, we're looking for someone to work for us at his hardwood flooring company. So at 18 years old, here I am. I'm driving around the city of Ottawa in a huge cube van, and I'm delivering like skids and skids of hardwood flooring to condos and apartments all over Ottawa. So I wake up at 7 or 6:30, get to work for 7, and I work until 3 when high school gets out, and then I go to practice like an adult, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. I'm like, well, I don't want to go to school. I'd rather do something. So whatever I was making, I don't know, maybe who knows, 15, 20 bucks an hour. So I was the big wheel on the team because I had some money and I was busting my balls during the week. So I did this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I didn't do it Fridays because it was game days, but I went to work for 7 to 8 hours before practice every single day because I didn't want to sit around doing nothing. So
and it's so funny because everybody else that shows up to the OHL practice, there's the guys that have signed the NHL contract that show up in the Beamer and the fancy cars. And then you got the kids that are still in school. And then you got you delivering floors and showing up in the Silverado.
Well, and it's unbelievable. Like it was unheard of. Like I would come home and I would work in the summers for 40 hours a week minimum and then go to the gyms after that. So, I mean, it was just unbelievable to everybody else who was in the league at the time that, what do you mean you're working? And I'm like, well, I mean, what else am I going to do? I'm not going to go and take courses that aren't going to benefit me in my future. So
I'm just going to go and work and make some money and see what happens. So I never had to get a special license, but I drove like probably a 30-foot cube van around downtown Ottawa and carried hardwood flooring up anywhere from 2 to 10 floors for 8 hours a day. And then I went to hockey practice, which I don't think,
but like realistically, like you and Scoot, like are the hardest workers I know. Like, and my old man, like there's hard workers in the world, but like, it's funny because like, I know who you are and you're like, well, why am I going to take a college course? Like I'd rather make money. It's like Clemmer when he was 20 years old saying to the coach, like $50.
Yeah.
Make that by lunch.
And it's all about perspective, right? Like at the time, I mean, I didn't feel as though I was going to the NHL and going to carry on for the rest of my life with millions of dollars. So I felt as though I had to keep, trudging forwards. And you know what? It kept me in shape. I drove around. I learned new talents. I met new people, and I didn't.
And you're busy. Being busy is good.
I didn't sit around the house playing video games as a 19-year-old.
You never did. You never did that.
Well, we played some Dungeons and Dragons, and that was okay too.
Yeah, we did get into a little bit of Nintendo there without cable. Okay, so anyways, moving on. Corey Locke was an interesting guy for me because when I saw guys like that, right, I'm around the same age, and you see how many points he's putting up, and you're like, well, that guy, I saw him in the Memorial Cup, and he was running the power play. I'm like, this is some sexy shit. And then he doesn't stick, right?
You know what? There's some things in the universe that just don't line up, and that guy's talent. And I mean, I like it. Like he played the same game that you did. That was just pure talent, pure vision, passing, scoring. It's unbelievable to me that he did not have at least 500 games in the NHL, because he is just like.
I remember watching the OHL. I think it was a Memorial Cup in Guelph or something. I don't know what it was, but I remember watching him on a power play, and I'm like, he is making this game look way too fucking easy.
So here's a story. So in that year that we played Kitchener in the finals, Matt Foy and Corey Locke. Matt Foy he played in NCAA somewhere, wasn't happy, came back and played with us, and he was the fastest, strongest skater I've ever seen in my entire life. And Corey Locke was the most talented player I've ever seen. And the two of them, we would get a penalty. The two of them would go out shorthanded. And I don't know the exact number, in 68 games or whatever the season is. We had close to 20 shorthanded goals. Like that is unbelievable percentage wise, because Corey Locke and Matt Foy would get 1 or 2 shorthanded goals in a game. Like it was
normal.
It was normal. So we would get a penalty. Corey Locke and Matt Foy would be out there. It would be like it's 5-on-5.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, one would throw a sauce off of boards, and the other one would, Matt Foy, who's the fastest player in the league, would take off, go in and roof it. So it was just incredible. And
it takes the right guys to gel, and it takes the right people being together to make it all work, right?
Yes. It's basically like Leslie and I, like,
yeah. Yeah. Right back in grade 9, whatever class it was.
But Corey, anyways, so Corey and Locke and Matt Foy, the practices we had throughout that year that we lost to the Rangers in the finals with Scott Shepard on their wing, we would do 3-on-2 drills, 3-on-1, everything. Like they would score.
Where was Scott Shepard from?
He was from just outside of Stratford somewhere. He's
somewhere
from a farming
here,
family, right? But great hockey player and a good person.
I remember he was the guy that I'll never forget this conversation. I'm playing for the Sugar Kings. I'm in the tryout.
He played for the Dutchman.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make the team before, and he's playing for the Dutchman. I'm playing for the Sugar Kings. And it was before a face-off, and he just started chatting with me. and we got chatting in the middle of a game, and Blocky pulled me aside after and says, if I ever see you playing tummy sticks and like chatting with the other team like that, like I will, like you don't do that. Like, we're playing the game. You're not friends with people on the ice. And it was true. He was right. And after that conversation with my coach in junior B with Blocky, I never once was like, I'm talking to you at warm up. Sorry for burping in the mic, folks. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh,
because
absolutely.
you shouldn't be doing buddy. He was trying to be buddy me. I don't want a buddy during the game. Let's do that after.
No, I don't either. It's all business. We're there for one reason, and when you're at that age and at that compete level, you know what, we can hang out in the summers and do whatever, but when you're in it, you're in it.
It's time to go. She's full go. I agree. Okay. After all that, though, the only thing I got to say, though, is anything about Brian Kilrea, because I know you loved that guy. You really liked him. When we'd come home in the summer and be having beers, you'd be like, this fucking guy is just the best.
So anyways, it worked out great for me because he loves hard work. He was adamant throughout his entire career. And I mean, his playing career was many years earlier. And when he was coaching us in the early 2000s, I mean, he was in his late 60s, I think in his early 70s, which is unbelievable. Like, when you think about it now, like, you think about people you know in your early 70s.
And getting on the buses and going to all those games and
Yeah. And like, you think about your whatever grandparents or whatever it is, but anyways, he demanded your best, and all he wanted was compete and work. And I think that's why I stayed in Ottawa for 4 years and I wasn't traded.
And that's why you can keep your Hotmail account.
And that's why I still have Rod Bauman 6'7", and I didn't have to trade it to Rod Bauman / Ice Dogs or something, right? Like,
that's St. Mike's.
So anyway, so Brian and I had an interesting, relationship. I mean, I was terrified of him from when I was there, from 17, 18, 19, terrified the whole time. I took on a larger role each time. And then when I was an overager, and there's only 3 overagers at 20 years old in the OHL, it was like we were business partners. It was like, okay, now he's asking my opinion, and you know what? And it's just kind of,
it's the circle of life, and that's what he would have been like with the guys the years before.
It was unbelievable. So I have nothing but respect for him. He was an unbelievable coach to me and the team the years that I was there.
Well, the guys they were recruiting, the guys they're drafting, whether it's Ballantyne, whether it's Ottawa, like the people they're bringing in, I find it interesting because there's there's Adam Smith, there's Scully, right? What was his name? Scully, right?
Sean Scully.
Yeah, and I knew him, and he was a good dude. And then the other guy is got it written down here somewhere. Gosh darn it, the up north trip. Where is it? Where's the notes? Albiani.
Oh,
no, but like you talk about a teammate, you talk about a guy that'd do anything for you. Like, teams win championships because people care and like they're friends. And Albiani, his family, his parents, himself, they got the Elmira Wrecking Crew show up one weekend up north for for some fun, but like that they were willing to do that. Ottawa 67s were recruiting the right people. They're recruiting the right families, the right, I don't know, like they do anything for you. And for you to call him, I know we can get into the story later, but like for you to call a guy that you played with on Ottawa when we have to leave a different place to go somewhere else, and we got how many guys were there? 8, 10 dandies. And they just took us all in. We
Yeah.
all stayed the night at their cottage. And I'm like, what kind of teammate is this?
Yeah. And so there's so many guys in Ottawa that I have lots to say about, and it's amazing because it seems like a lifetime ago. But Matt Albiani, and he comes from a great family. I knew his parents well. I got to know his brother well, and they just nothing but support, and just it's anyway wonderful relationships, and great successes together. And anyways, whatever. We got kicked out of one cottage, and because it was my fault, and I still feel sorry about that. But anyways,
it's okay because the other guy is bad news. So it's a good thing we got out of there.
I called Albiani, and his family was like, yeah, you can come up here with your bunch of misfits. And we stayed there and slept under kitchen tables and all over the dock and everything else. And we had a bunch of beers, and it was,
and we had a great weekend, and we all had fun. And I'll never forget, like, when you think about it as an adult, like us rolling in there with, like, how old would we have been? In our low 20s? And what we rolled in there as, they were a championship family.
Yeah. And you know what, you look at how, so picture yourself now. So Colby in another 7 years, he brings a band of misfits, and all of a sudden, hey, these guys need a place to stay. So what do? Well, you go to the butcher and you grab some burgers and you start tossing them around and give the guys a place to sleep, right? You're not going to toss them out on the street. You take them in as your own, right?
Exactly.
That's just the character and the people that you want to support.
I agree. And the people you were playing with in Ottawa, that's why I think it's interesting when you always talk about your time in Ottawa and the success the Ottawa 67s had during Brian Kilrea's tenure, was that they were recruiting good people. When they saw your wheels, when they saw you skate and they took you in the 5th round, it wasn't because you were the most genetically whatever kid that, like, they draft nowadays. Like, they were taking character.
Yeah. And I mean,
and so was Albiani. So was all these other guys, right?
Yeah. Pierre Mitsu, who we played overage with too, who was one of the best defensemen in the league when we were in our overage year. Me, Albiani, and Pierre Mitsu were the overagers in Ottawa in our final year. And Pierre Mitsu, incredible talent, but he barely made the team as a 17, 18-year-old and hardly got any ice time, but just strong. And anyways, but yeah, it's just character guys that are going to stick with it and not go through the swan song of poor me and I only care about me, like we're in this for the long haul.
He was recruiting. He was calculated by the looks of things. That's what, anyways, we got to move on. Gosh, you said, why want to have you on? Like, we're not even close to done yet. We've been going for hours. We're not even to the Elmira Rocks yet.
I was thinking, what do I have to tell? My hockey career was not impressive, but anyway, let's carry on.
It was impressive, actually, sir. Do you know how many kids are sitting around thinking they want to make the OHL? Do you have any idea? Every kid on my team wants to make the OHL. So if you think it's not impressive, you're an idiot. Okay. After you're done there, Southern Professional Hockey League, you went for a tryout and the AHL.
Okay. Yeah. So this went pretty quick. So 2004. So I finished in Ottawa as an overager. I did well. Almost.
Oh, I want to talk about that. You had a point a game.
Yeah.
You're up and down the wing as a left winger, shaved head, picked, whatever. But like, you had a point a game.
So yeah, I wasn't exactly.
And you could fight.
I wasn't exactly up and down the wing as an overager anymore. I was penalty kill. I was power play. I was a little bit of toughness. And, I was able to pick my fights now in the OHL. I didn't engage with the misfits anymore. So it was basically established people. So now we're into, you got a reputation.
Fighting Hendo.
Yeah. Exactly. You got a reputation and you got a status, right? So you don't trade off with anybody who's on the third and fourth lines anymore. So anyway, so where were we going with this?
I don't know, but you're going to be on the top 2 lines and you're fighting people. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah. So I was on penalty kill and blocking shots and just loving every minute of it. But by the end of my overage year, and again, we had a good team, and it was a heartbreak in the first round in my overage year. We lost in game 7 by a score of, I don't know. It was a 1-goal game, and we outshot them.
I remember now what we were talking about is, remember when you talk about teams being selfless, and you don't like talking about yourself. I was talking about how you would point a game as a last year guy, and you're already bringing it into like the team thing, and like we won or lost, and we didn't talk about any of your you had 15, 16, and 17 goals your 13 or your 3 years. Jesus. You were scoring goals, but like you don't even care about that. You were just talking about the wins and losses of the team.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what, personal stats are great or whatever, but at the end of the day, nobody remembers it. So
not at all.
So I mean, the fond memories are of the group hugs at the end of series, and the carrying on, and just the camaraderie, right?
I agree. And then like when it's like when you're gonna block a shot for the team, and the boys are like, "Look at that," and you're like, "Yeah, that's the shit we need."
Yeah. Don't care. I just want to get in front of that shot. So anyway, one quick story about Adam Smith. I was in his wedding party. A good, great guy. And
you're in mine too.
Yes. and Scoots and just anyway.
Go.
So great story about Adam Smith here. So I thought you might want a good story. So here's a real quick one. I'll expedite it a bit. So
you don't
Adam
have
Smith,
to. No, take your time.
So in our overage year, Adam Smith, he got dealt to Owen Sound because there wasn't enough room for him. I was lucky enough to get chosen to stay in Ottawa. He went to Owen Sound because he's from up there. So anyways, we're
traded to the Attack, eh?
Yeah. So we have our reputations, and you know what?
You fought your buddy.
Yeah. So there's tough. I never fought him, but anyways, so I got blindsided and broke my jaw in my overage year and missed a couple weeks. So I call up Adam Smith in Owen Sound. I looked at the schedule. I said, you know what, so-and-so, this guy, you're playing him next week. And he says, I'd love to help you out, but I just got in a fight with so-and-so, and I'm concussed right now, so I'm going to be out a couple weeks. So and it was unbelievable. I'm sitting in my basement in Ottawa. I call the guy on the phone, and I feel like I'm making a deal, like
you're trying to get him beat up.
like I'm part of the mafia or something, right? Like it's like, hey Smitty, I need a favor. He's like, he says, I would love to help you out, but I probably won't be back in for at least 2 weeks or whatever. I'm gonna miss that game. I'm concussed. I got punched in the jaw. I mean, I was in one with this guy, and I'm just like, you were my last resort.
Listening to you and Smitty, like playing the fourth line of the Ottawa 67s back when you guys won the championship would have been a nightmare. I hated playing against him in minor hockey too.
Yeah. Anyway, so back on track.
Are we? I don't even know.
Where were we? Ending 67.
Oh, Elmira Rocks. Right?
Oh, no, going to
Southern Professional.
Yes. So
yeah,
anyway.
You went for a tryout. I remember you telling me about this because I didn't know much about anything. And you were telling me you went to a Southern Pro exhibition game and there was like no refs. I got to piss.
Okay.
Go.
So here it goes. So at the end of my OHL career, I had a bunch of Central Hockey League teams contact me and they wanted me to come down and sign with them and play with them right away. Well, it was the year of the 2004, 2005 lockout or whenever it was. And it was Corpus Christi in Texas that I was going to go down and play for because it was right on the Gulf of Mexico. I'm like pumped up. I'm like, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to be able to golf and whatever, carry on and play hockey. But so I go down there for the tryout. I'm there for about 2 weeks. Guys start filtering back because there's a lockout, and guys who played in Europe and whatever before came back and they started filtering back. And I played a few exhibition games and I didn't light it up by any means, but I fought a couple tough guys and got a couple assists or whatever and was hanging out, but came down to the coaches meeting and he says, well, it's a full house here and we can't keep you because these guys are coming back and they've played in this league for the last 3 years and they've been good. So you're on your way. So anyway, nobody in the Central League wanted me. So I went to the South Professional Hockey League in North Carolina. Winston-Salem I landed in. And I went there and I showed up and I was there for one exhibition game. I got there late. I sat in the stands and guys came out and a couple guys had toothpicks in their mouth in warm-ups. And toothpicks. Like this is interesting. And they're supposed to be warming up the goalie and shots are going off the boards and off the glass. Like nobody's hitting the goalie. I'm like, what's going on here? Anyways, so maybe it was just a bad, quick experience. So anyways, I watched that game and it was like my eyes were bleeding. And then the next game, the exhibition game I played in, I did well. I mean, I had a couple points and Troy Illajau, he played for Sault Ste. Marie in the OHL and I knew him well. He was a big, tough guy too. And he was getting paid $450 a week. And I went and said to the owners, I'm going to need at least $450 a week, like, or I'm kind of wasting my time. Like,
to fight these guys.
Yeah. Like $450 a week. Like the only thing they're paying for your place to sleep. And that's about it. Right. Like you split your cable with your buddies that you're splitting the house with. And then you go to the bar and you're taking home $7 a week as your take home pay. Right. So
about seven, you might get 8.
now I go from aspirations of, anyway, before all that started, I went to the AHL tryout in Milwaukee for the Admirals. They had just won the championship. Ryan Suter, Scotty Upshaw, Jordan Tutu, they were all the rookies on the team coming in, and I'm there as a tryout.
You stopped at Western Michigan on your way to Milwaukee.
Yes, that is true. And I stopped in and see you guys.
You stopped in at the U Club and saw Stretch and Yahtzee in the books. Yes. So
I seen you guys. I'm like, yeah, I'm a big wheel. I'm going to the AHL to try out. And I got there and I was just out of my league. These guys were like, I mean, Ryan Suter was 19 years old and he was just like, you're kidding me, right? Like everybody's chasing him around like he's the wonder boy, right?
I know.
Anyway, so I was out of my league there. So that's when I went to the Central League and I ended up in the South Professional League. And I just kind of looked in the mirror and I was just like, am I going to stay here for $375 a week when I have to give up $374 a week to be able to do it? And
you've been working your whole life.
Well,
and then you come to pro and you're like, you can't work anymore. You have to be on bus trips. And you're like,
well, exactly.
You're telling me I can't make money.
So now I'm in North Carolina and I'm like, well, how am I going to deliver hardwood flooring when your practices are at 9 a.m?
You didn't even tell me when practice was until after the game. What do you mean?
So anyway, there wasn't the budget there. The teams seemed to fold and pop up in the city next door every 2 years. So I just kind of looked in the mirror and I was like, you know what? If I'm this far down the ladder, I might go home and figure something else out because I'm from a working family and I'm not gonna spin my tires for too long. So I thought, you know what? I've had so much fun. I've had a lifetime worth of fun playing hockey and friends and everything else. So I thought, you know what? Maybe this is a bit of a wake up call. I should maybe shut her down. So anyway,
I remember us having the same conversation, to be honest. I remember when I was like right coming out of school and like I don't know when it was, but you're like, maybe you should shut her down. I think it was like when I got sent to the coast. I'm like, well, I'm too close to not keep going. Like, and it's like weird. You get into this, you're not good enough to make it, but you're not good enough to quit. And that's where I got into. Yeah. Thank goodness my knee went.
I mean, fortunate for me. I mean, I had my princess at home, and I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm 21 or 22 years old, and my beautiful girlfriend is at home, working away. She's making my paycheck look like grocery money. So what am I doing? So
well, what she's doing now is very impressive, and what both of you are doing is like I always say, is like the people you surround yourself with are the type of people you become. And like you and Leslie are very impressive people. You have good families. You have, yeah, I'm not saying anything nice anymore. Enough. Okay. Elmira Rocks. You guys won the championship a bunch, right? A couple times with Dunner and the boys, Dallas Cressman and net.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So in spite of Dallas Cressman being in net, you should have said.
Was he trying to score like empty net goals every time the other team would pull the goalie, or what was he doing?
You know what? Dallas, he competed, and that's one of the reasons we won too. But you put him in line to teach any goalie coming up, and everybody would laugh at him because he's not exactly a standard goalie, but he battles, and he did really well. But anyways, I was out there in Elmira, so whatever, done professional hockey, move home, go to try out for the Cambridge Hornets, where the year of the lockout, Scott Walker is there, Mike Torsch is there, a bunch of guys are there. And they're like, yeah, we'll get you in some games. I watched a couple of games. They're like, yeah, we'll pay you $75 a game. I went and watched a couple. I'm like, I don't need to come here and watch games. I'm 21 years old. I'm going to play with my buddies in Elmira. So I went there, Brian Clemmer, Dale Wideman, Dallas Cressman, a bunch of guys from Elmira.
That sounds like a hell of a team.
It's like,
people had to fight. People had to play you guys.
Well, here's the kicker. At pretty much within the same 2 weeks, Mike Brito is there, who's a good player, and Jeremy Machen. Like,
oh yeah.
So Jeremy Machen, one of the smoothest hockey players I've ever played with, walked into the Elmira Rocks dressing room about the same time I did, and it was just like marriage.
Well, Jeremy Machen was a guy like, so you wouldn't have known him, but I grew up playing AAA with him in Guelph at the end. And then played on the Sure Kings with him while you're in Ottawa. And I know all about Jeremy Machen. That guy can play hockey. He could pass. He could shoot. He could do it all. Then you got you being tough. You got him doing his thing. That's quite the recipe.
Yeah, it's a marriage, really.
Yeah, no, it would work.
It's too bad he lives in Elmira.
You guys would hug, eh?
So our kids are playing against each other right now. I see them all the time. So anyway,
is that right? No, great dude.
He's a small cat. So anyway, we go to Elmira Rocks. You know what? We win the championship our first year there. The second year we go to the finals, maybe lose in the finals. The third year lose to? Durham, maybe Durham Thundercats. The third year there, we win.
Thundercats, yuck.
Well, McMillan, you had him on here, didn't you, Jeff McMillan?
Oh yeah.
So we lost to him one year. They had a good team the one year.
Oh, he's a good dude, man.
He's a swell cat. Like, ask him about our battles. Like, Durham and Elmira used to be pretty intense, and he's a good defenseman.
Well, and he would have been in closer to his prime than when I played against.
Yeah, like he would have been.
We both would have been.
He would have been 34-ish, right? Like,
Yeah, no, it was I played with him in Syracuse. It was a hell of a time. And it's funny, like the good people from small town Ontario stick with you. Like it's
The
weird
be-
how you go all over the world, you see all these different places, but like the teammates that really stick out to you are
Well, the so about senior hockey, like, yeah, there's a bunch of guys that filter back in from junior B and OHL and all that. And I mean,
it gets
NHL,
real though. And
yeah,
like you were really good. I went and watched you play with Machen. It was when I hurt my knee. I went and watched the game and everybody was like, oh, Walton's gonna play here next year. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna make a comeback and I'm gonna play again. But I watched you guys play the playoffs against the team and I watched the game and I was like, holy shit, they're doing this for free.
well, and that's basically it, right? Like these guys are just a compete level. And then as soon as the game is over, we are in the booster club. We like hate these guys. We hate them so much. And then you're just sitting right beside them and you send a tray of beers over to them. And like, it's like, yeah, you know what? We respect you guys too. So, you know what? Here's some beers. And we're whatever, 30 years old, but there's that respect there. We're all Canadian. Like,
And
it's,
we all just want to play hockey and we want to compete. And it's like if you don't set up these games, we got nobody to compete with and we got no reason to leave the house.
and, and that's totally true. But I mean, part of my success in Elmira too was because I played with Jeremy Machen. Like,
Oh, if you two together,
oh,
they wouldn't have gone
like
near him because you're out there and he could have done whatever he wanted. And then yeah, well, you always could do whatever you wanted.
he
But
his
it would have been like me and you back in minor novice. It
and
was the skill guy with the big guy with him.
yeah, but that was before hockey was hockey. And I mean, that's one of the things that disappoints me too. Like, we never really got to play together.
It was all as kids, yeah. But like I've seen you play pitcher, batter, catcher. I've seen you play one pitch. I know you can compete. Oh shit. Okay. I don't know what else I got. How much did you fight when you played senior A?
Not a whole lot. So
Why would you
again,
want to? Like if somebody tried to fight you, would you not be like, stop it?
so and that's kind of what it boils down to. You get to a point where now you've gone through the full grommet. I mean, I've went through the AHL tryouts and been fighting the big dogs and whatever, and then you come play senior A, and now you're on the first line, and then you got these misfits that are barely on the team playing senior A, and they're from who
And
knows where.
you're getting 3 points a game.
Yeah, so now, I mean, there's no point in doing it all the time, but I mean, it happens. But at the same time, my passion, not my passion for it, but my defense,
Passion for the game and for your team and for who you are. And like if someone does something to Jeremy Machen,
and that's where it came from, right? Like, it's anybody who touched Machen that that pissed me off, right? So, but other than that, like, Brian Clemmer was always on the team and playing on the third line, so
so every
things
once in a while he could go out there and do it, right?
things are looked after. So, anyways, I kind of realized it was the end of my senior hockey days when I was, I think, 28 or 29 years old, and we still had good teams in Elmira, but I was working. So now my wife was a paramedic. We had a child. I was a shift worker in Waterloo. I was missing some games, and you know what, lack of sleep and stuff. And I feel bad. I was the captain of the Elmira Rocks, and then I would go out to the games, and then some misfit would come up to me and want to fight. And a couple times it was just like, okay, I'll see if this guy can punch hard or whatever, and give him the first few, and take him and see what happens before I got pissed off and whatever else. But at that point, it was
You
kind
lose
of,
your, yeah.
it was kind of like, what am I doing this for? You know, I'm missing some games as a captain of the team because of my shift work and my livelihood. So what's the point here? I'm getting a bit older too, so.
Well, I agree. And you're not getting paid for it. You're doing it for the love, right?
Well, and that was the past 8 years, right? With the Elmira Rocks. Like, it was.
I don't know what I moved to a new town at the end of hockey. I was like a free agent. We bought the house, and I played for the Ripley Wolves, right? You would have played against them. You would have played in the Wolf Den. I loved it. I really did. I loved it. It made me feel like part of a new town. I met all the different people that lived here. I go to the Ripley Arena. I know every single person that's there because I went and played hockey, right? You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's how you make friends. And I mean, you know what? It's easy to make friends when you're good at hockey. Like, it really is.
It really is. And then when all your closest friends are all into the same shit you're into, it makes it really easy to have fun. You can have pitcher batter catcher tournaments. You can have all sorts of shit, right?
It just escalates, really.
Yeah. And I don't know what else. Do you got anything else for me before we shut it down? Other than, I think it's been, I miss you guys. I do miss you guys. I live here now. I want you guys to come golfing. I hope you do. I know everybody's busy. But the people I grew up with, my closest 5 friends, whoever you want to call them, each year of my life, they make you who you are. They made me the teammate I was. They made me the player I was. And it was you, Wideman, Chauncey, Bays, Lackner, all the guys that were at the country concert, that were at the pitcher batter catcher, that were at the one pitch. That was my team, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, we look back now, I mean, with all the nonsense that's gone on in the last 2-3 years, and you've been hunkered down in our houses, and you feel like you're so restricted and you can't socialize. I mean, you look back and you realize that we've had
a time.
We've had 5 lifetimes of fun in the last like 15 years, like from age 10 until age 30. It was nothing but nonstop.
You're right.
Fireworks. And now, so we're the next generation and providing that for our children. And I watch my kids and the fun they're having with their friends, and you just try to push it along, right? Like,
you do. You try to make them have more fun.
Yeah. And you talk about, and you invite the kids over and tell them there's rabid raccoons in the shed, and then surprise, guess what? There's not. Let's have ice cream.
Yeah. Let's yeah, no, you're right. And it's like me getting the shirts made for the team is like, I show up to practice now, and like kids on my team show up in 2 Ales and Hockey Tail shirts. Like every practice, there's at least a handful of them. And it's like every time my heart just like kind of like, just like, it's like, oh God, you know, I love it. I love coaching these kids, and I can't wait for next weekend, the U11 OMHA finals. And I hope we can do what we did back, what is it, like 30 years ago?
And yeah, and that's fantastic. And my daughter's team, they're headed towards the provincial tournament next weekend. And I told them after their exhibition game tonight, we're just kind of spinning our tires, waiting to get to this tournament. And the message has basically been, do you know what, girls? We have 1 week left together. We're going to practice. We're going to play one exhibition game, and then we're into the tournament. And in 7 days from now, this group will never play together again. So just do the best you can, have fun, talk to each other, hoot and holler. You know what? Win or lose, you remember the friends that you made, right? So that's,
and you're right. As a hockey team, when the season ends, that team will never be together again. It's never the same. There's always one in, one out. There's two in, two out. It's never the same. And man, this season with my kids, I've loved it so much, and it sounds like you're doing the same with your kids. Shed guy.
what's left on your list? I mean, there's nothing left on my hockey career in there. Unless you want to talk about the Elmira District Church Hockey League.
No, I think I don't know. Way back when I was in grade 6 and like Nathan Woods was a really good hockey player, I was like, geez, who does he play for? And they're like, well, he plays for the church league, this team. I was like, oh, really? He's quite good. He can skate fast. No, I got nothing, man. Like I don't know, man. Like you and Chauncey and Wideman and Lochner and Bays and Woody and all my buddies from my hometown made me who I am. And I think watching the Sugar Kings win championships when we were young bucks helped us learn what it takes to win. And I think when you go to Ottawa and become a winner, we're in Elmira becoming winners. Like, I don't know what to say. We work hard. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Anyway, thanks for having me on here, Brent. It's been too long. It's been fun. You know what? I haven't even some of the stories I told you today, or in the last hour or whatever. You know what? I don't really get them out. I'm maybe call me.
Who cares? Humble. Who wants to hear about them? Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody does.
Nobody wants to hear about them. I don't know if anybody will listen to this ever because I'm on it. But anyways, I'm gracious the path that I've had in hockey, and I mean, people ask me about it, and I'm kind of humble about it, but I don't think it's impressive at all. But when you look at the percentage of people who go on to major, junior, NCAA and carry on and have some fun with friends, but anyways, I hold the teammates close to my heart. And
you shut your filthy mouth. Okay, I got this from here. I'm gonna shut this down right now. Basically, having this guy teach me about life and be the same age group as me and show me what it was like to be a teammate, what it's like to be a brother. This guy, Scoot, Dennis, all of them taught me like just being a good person and like working as hard as you possibly can to win the game was a very big influence on me. But then, honestly, a lot of times in our lives, I'd be like, fuck, Rodney's just a better guy than me. Like, he like does this for the community, does that. I'm like, shit, I should do more. And it rubs off on you, and eventually you try and be a better person, right? And this has been another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Rodney and Wally.